Hey y'all, welcome to Big Texas Bossin, the show that spills the Texas tea on bossing up, tossing coins, and living your biggest and best life on your own terms. I'm your host, Lalanii Wilson Jones.
It's time for Big Texas Bossin with Lalanii Wilson Jones. Spilling the tea on Bossin Up.
Hey y'all, I'm Lalanii Wilson Jones. I'm Big Texas Bossin. I'm Sugar, I'm Honey, and I'm a lot of names that I probably can't even say on this show. But the biggest, most important thing for you to know is why I decided to do this podcast. It was something that I've wanted to do for years. I think the world needed a insight into poppin' business people who are underdogs and who haven't been heard, but still who have successful stories. I thought the world needed to know that there are platforms for higher levels of fashion and lifestyle events that people of all cultures subscribe to, and that we're doing these events, we're out there planning, we're out there making things happen, but nobody is getting the story. So it was my idea to bring a podcast that was transparent, that was truthful and honest to who these bosses are. The unknown bosses or little known bosses are the ones that make things happen every day for everyone all over the world. It's important that they're recognized and that their work is continued or their work is an inspiration. And you need to know who these people are. It's like going to your closet and pulling out a blue suit. You know who the maker of that blue suit is, but do you know how their story got there? On Big Texas Bossin, you'll get to discover all of that and more. You'll take nuggets away. We all need encouragement. We all need uplifting. We all need to know, how did this happen for that person? And sometimes hearing some of the stories that you've heard will serve as an inspiration to know that everyone goes through trials and triumphs, and it's the endurance that gets you where you're going. Wow, it hasn't been easy for me. Not at all. You all probably know or you may not know, but I work in the healthcare arena. I do several home healthcare businesses. I work in hospice and I also have a primary care assistant side. All of those things keep me busy on a regular basis, 365, 24/7. I'm about the community and making sure we give back and making sure that the underserved are served. I'm so proud to do the work that I've done for over 25 years that I just can't say enough about what it means to me helping people. One of the other things that I do as a serial entrepreneur is daycares and working with children. The foundations of children and getting their start, good early starts, are dependent upon their parents and the community. I truly believe that it takes a village to raise a child, and believe me, I've helped raise hundreds, if not thousands, of children. It's my honor to have a team that's very supportive and productive. My managers are all well equipped to handle the day-to-day business functions, and they perform. I am a fashionista at heart. I've got a wonderful team that helps me execute. I've got my style belle Felicia. I've got my Miguel of Dallas. I've got one and only Hair by Mia. All three of these people are people who you'll see their looks contributed to my final look. And you'll see that on all the episodes. I've got my behind the scenes people. I've got my producer, Travion Davenport, Kayla Adams. I've got my assistants, Jacqueline and Andrea, who are involved heavily in everything I do. So not to mention just our day-to-day stuff, it was getting the podcast. How do we get the interviews? How do we get the people? What do we want to talk about? It's definitely been a journey to bring this to you, but I think that you will love everything on every episode, and it'll probably be hard to pick your favorite because you'll see small snippets of yourself in something that's been said on one of the podcasts. I am also an author. Many of you may know me from my book Sugar Mama with my co-author Travion Davenport. We've traveled the world with that. And we've done interviews extensively, rather all over the world, not necessarily traveling during COVID, but we have traveled to Atlanta and Houston to participate in different author events. Sugar Mama is loosely based on my life. Sugar Mama is an excellent book, and I'm looking forward to writing 2 more segments to go with it. If you haven't got a copy of that, I encourage you to go to sugarmamabook.com and pick that up. One of the other things that I'm crazy about that's near and dear to my heart is my organization called the Daddy-Daughter Experience. The Daddy-Daughter Experience brings fathers and daughters together for mutual love, for entertainment, and also to give fathers and daughters a chance to bond. Unfortunately, COVID hit and we didn't get to do our epic premiere event, but I have done a few events in that space that included awarding fathers on an annual basis for different things. We've done tea parties, we've had celebrity dance-offs, and we've done different things. As the year progresses and things open up more from COVID, you can definitely anticipate that we'll be doing a lot of things with Daddy-Daughter and a lot more traveling. I do different things all around the Dallas area, and I am a Dallas socialite. It's been my pleasure. I hope that you will enjoy the series. We do need your feedback. Follow Big Texas Bossin at Big Texas Bossin on Instagram, Facebook, and our website, Big Texas Bossin. I'm so excited to bring my next guest to you. The one and only Dr. Lynn Richardson is here with us on Big Texas Bossin today. Boss of bosses. Dr. Lynn Richardson is a shining star, particularly in the finance industry. She is the star of Debtors Court TV, a financial expert and a celebrity business manager, etc. Named by Urban Influence magazine as one of the 20 hottest influencers in America, Dr. Richardson is a financial expert, entertainment executive, and TV and radio personality who uses her quick wit and humorous presentation style to help others face their money issues and achieve personal, professional, and spiritual harmony. Dr. Lynn will talk taxes, living paycheck to Monday, and dispelling myths related to home ownership. Her honor, Dr. Lynn Richardson. Thank you for bossing up with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Why don't you start off, Dr. Richardson, telling us about your illustrative career in finance and what led you in the direction that you've gone. Just tell us everything we need to know about you and how you got where you are.
Well, I was born and raised in Chicago. My grandmother was 75 years old, cleaning homes for wealthy people, putting me through college. I grew up knowing we're not rich, but I didn't feel poor. So my grandmother taught me all the things that grandmothers teach their children, like go to school, get a good education, get a good job, go to church on Sunday, wear clean underwear in case you get hit by a bus. She taught me all those things. Yes, it was in the grandmama's book, I am sure, to this day. And so when I needed money for something, I'd say, Grandma, I need money for a field trip. She'd tell me to look in the room on top of the shelf, behind my box, inside a pocketbook, inside a zipper, wrapped up in a piece of paper towel is $20. And so when I got out of college, that was my relationship with money. And I didn't know a lot about money management. So I went to the credit card room the very first week of school. I got a bunch of credit cards. I couldn't pay anybody. So when the creditors would call me and say, Lynn, can you borrow the money? I'd say, can I borrow it from you? I had all kind of funny answers, but when I got out into the real world, it was not so funny. My money was funny. My change was strange. My furniture was from rent and center. My credit was jacked up. So here I was entering my adult life with this terrible relationship with money. Fast forward, I get married. I'm successful, 3 children, big house in the suburbs. You name it, I've got it. Helping people all over the Chicagoland area. And quite frankly, all over the country at that point. I helped a lady with 4 bankruptcies and 2 foreclosures overcome her credit issues. She got into a house with a 3% interest rate and low money down. And so I became very well known and started making lots of money. But the more money I made, the more money I spent. And so I was living check to Monday. You see, check to check is a blessing. That means you get paid on Friday, and by the next payday, you're broke. But check to Monday is a whole different game. You get paid on Friday, you kick it on the weekend, you pay on your past due bills, and by Monday, you're broke. And I was living that lifestyle, making $30, $40, $50, $60, $70, $80,000 a month, not a year, a month. No matter how much money I made, I always found a way to be broke. So I spend my life today helping people understand this. More money doesn't solve a money problem. If it did, millionaires would go bankrupt. If more money could solve a money problem, you'd never have a bankrupt millionaire. You'd never have a bankrupt billionaire. So I have had the privilege of leaving my corporate job, landing into the entertainment industry, working with the likes of Russell Simmons and MC Light, running companies for major brands and icons. But my most proud, I would say, the work that gives my heart the greatest pleasure is being able to interact with everyday people who look just like me, who came from whatever background it was, and who just want to have an opportunity to live out this life in truth and in freedom. And for many of us, that includes financial freedom, not necessarily having all the money in the world, but being able to master money. I think too many people are living in a space where they feel like money controls them. They worry about money. They don't know how they're going to get money. They're trying to figure out how they're going to fund their dreams and their plans for their families, for their communities, and so on and so forth. But the truth is, we master money, and money is waiting for us to master it. But in order to master anything, we must tame it. And what I found is, if we tame money, if we truly honor the principles of mathematics, then we have the ability to not only control it and how it works in our lives, but then it acquiesces to us. And so that's what I teach in my Global New Wealth University. I teach students all over the globe. In fact, on every single continent except Antarctica. I don't think we've mailed anything there ever. But I teach people everything from how to start a home-based business, how to overcome a spending addiction in 21 days to financial freedom, how to invest in the stock market, how to expand a business. There's executive coaching, how to write a book, starting a speaking career, life coach certification, and then every possible money mastery exercise and teaching that you could imagine is there. And so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right. That is a beautiful story, Dr. Richardson. That is. You've given us a lot of nuggets with that, but could you come back and give us the 5 key tips, or if it's 2, what are the essentials in mastering money? If someone is committed to their budget and they're committed to overcoming any challenges that they may have financially, where does it start? What are the rules?
There are 3 basic rules. There are many different financial experts, and many people have different lists and, the top 10 ways to do this and the list for that. But it all boils down to 3 basic things. And every single person can master these 3 things. And in mastering these 3 things, we can gain control of it all. The first thing is to spend less money. There is no possible way to get more and spend more and still be financially free. One of the things I often say is, it doesn't matter how much money you make. If you spend more than that, you're going to feel broke. And the more you make and the more you spend, the worse you feel. If you make $50,000 a year, but you spend $100,000, you live in check to Monday. If you make $200,000 a year, but you spend $300,000, you live in check to Monday. If you make $10 million a year, but you spend $20 million, you're going to not only live check to Monday, but you're going to feel really bad about it, because the bigger they are, the harder they fall, the more stuff that you have to maintain. Been there and done that. So how do you do that? I say live by the 10-10-30-50. The first 10% of every dollar you get, you tithe. Now, people say, well, that must be easy for you to say, Pastor Lynn. I am an ordained minister. I'm pastor of stewardship at California Worship Center, where Warren Campbell is our senior pastor and Erica Campbell is our first lady. But I started tithing when I was broke. You see, my big old fat corporate paycheck stopped up here. And it was a high 6-figure job with stock options and all this thing. But my bills kept going all the way down here. So I started tithing because I realized I was broke whether I tithed or not. It wasn't like if I kept the tithing money, I was straight. I was broke either way. So I started tithing so at least I could have God on my broke side when I prayed. I just felt like I needed some help somewhere, okay? The first 10% you tithe, the next 10% you save. and not just for a rainy day, but for a come up, saving for an opportunity to invest in real estate or to invest in the stock market or to invest in some other venture that will allow you to create a stream of income that you don't have to work for. The next 30% is cash in your pocket or cash on a separate debit card for incidentals. And I say this needs to be separate to help you avoid a spending addiction. A spending addiction is what you have when you go to the grocery store for toothpaste and walk out with $179.47 worth of stuff you don't need, talking about it was on sale. And it was not on sale for you, okay?
I'm guilty. Are you talking to me, Dr. Richardson? I think I'm guilty.
Let me tell you, all of this applies to me, okay? So for everybody who's thinking, well, who is she talking to? I'm talking to the girl in the mirror, me. This was all me, okay? And so in just owning that and accepting it, I realized that so many more people could be free. So that 30% is for groceries, gas, hair, nails. I remember one young lady at the Essence Young Women's Leadership Conference, and she came up to me and said, well, Dr. Lynn, I got it. This is the first time I've ever been able to get a budget. She said, but the 30%, that's just enough for my hair. I said, okay, well, get your hair done. And when you die of starvation because you don't have any money for food, we're going to look in your casket and say, her hair sure was sharp. That's what we're going to say. You know, and so she got it. And the point is, we try to make money fit our life, and money is like, I'm real simple. You learn me in first grade. 1 + 1 = 2. If your stuff adds up to 10, it will never get into 2. It will not fit into 2. So what ultimately happens is we kill our dreams. We kill integrity. We kill the truth when we spend more money than we make, when we try to stretch it beyond what it was entitled and designed to do. So that 30% is cash, and it helps us avoid deals at the stake. Deals at the stake are items that we buy in this century that aren't worth the ash that they could have burned them 2 centuries ago, like $5,000 rims on a $500 car. You know, $200 shoes for feet with corns on them that really need some flip-flops. You know, I tell people no matter what pandemic, no matter what recession, no matter what disaster has ever come, not one purse company has ever gone out of business. So from this day forward, we should live by the universal purse test, which says if the purse costs more than the amount of money you can keep in it on a regular basis, leave it on the rack. And so those are just some funny ways to come into a really hard truth and face to spend less money than we make. So the first 10% you tithe, the next 10% you save, 30% is cash in your pocket, and the remaining 50% stays in your checking account for your bills. Now, once you look at that 50%, you've got one of two issues. Either you have more than enough money, and if so, that is not a license to go and buy everything. See, what happened is we would get more money and then go make more bills. You get a $20,000 raise, you buy a $50,000 car. You get a $50,000 raise, you buy a $200,000 house. And so every time you get a raise, if you raise your expenses, then you will have more bondage. And what we really want to do if there's extra money, you want to eliminate your debt. Why? Because debt is the middleman between you and your freedom. Debt is where you're paying interest. Money is saying to you, I want to work hard for you. Money is saying to you, I will work harder for you than you can work for me. But if our money is always working for our creditors, it can never work for us. So try to eliminate some. Yes, put some money aside for vacation or what I call a business trip. I don't take vacations because they're not tax write-off. I only take business trips that I can then vacation while I'm there and then get a full tax write-off. But I say, you know, try to eliminate that debt. Now, if you don't have enough money left over, well, let me stay there. If you have money left over, try to eliminate your debt and then try to put an additional 10 to 15% towards your investing so that you can save for retirement. And then begin to put together your slush fund or your sinking fund for all the things that you want. If you don't have enough money, then you must subtract. And this is where we must come face to face with our emotional attachment to the things that we have. The very first time I looked at my budget, I cried. First of all, I didn't want a budget. I thought budgets were for poor people. Now, you know, that's just ignorant. I'm a math major in business, in college, studying business, finance, and economics, and I thought budgets were for poor people, which is why I was just off. But what you want to do is if you've got more money or more bills than money, then you must subtract. And that means we must disconnect ourselves from the things that we feel give us power. So when I filed bankruptcy the second time, I got rid of my beloved Lexus. I walked away from the home. I walked away from all of those things because those things did not define me. My freedom is where I found my peace. And so be willing to subtract. Some of us are struggling to send the kids to college. I say school is free. I have 3 daughters. My oldest graduated from my alma mater, Northwestern. My 2 youngest are at Howard. But I always told them school is free. If you get A's, you go to school for free. If you get C's, you're going to the free school, the community college. Either way, it's going to be free for me. So the first rule is to spend less money. The second rule is to get more money because one stream of income is hazardous to your wealth. If you are operating on one stream of income, then you are at the mercy of that stream. And although Big Mama and Grandmama and them and, the people who raised us taught us to go and get that job that you could retire off into the sunset on, that simply is not a reality in today's society. So everybody is an entrepreneur. I don't think entrepreneurialism is something reserved for a select few, like being a teacher. If you are a teacher, then also have other businesses, teaching, tutoring, educating, writing books. If you are a doctor, have other businesses providing information in that area. Whatever you are, find additional ways to create streams of income. So you must spend less money. You must get more money. But here's the problem when you get more money. The more money you make, the more the IRS will take.
Right.
That's just as simple as it is.
So how do we avoid that?
I remember getting my first $20,000 check from getting a $10,000 check. I thought my take-home pay would double. My take-home pay on a $10,000 check was $8,000. My take-home pay on a $20,000 check. Now I was expecting $16,000, okay, at least. And I had already spent the money. Let's be clear, I was living check to money, okay? And I had already spent that money. But when I got that check, it was $9,000, almost passed out right there in the office. But I said, child, you can't die because you need your money. I said, I sure do. So I called the IRS. People said, well, why'd you call the IRS? I said, because they had my money. People call it HR. HR don't have your money. The check says FICA. You see who has the money. So that's who I called. So I got on the phone with the withholding agent, and they told me that I was in all these tax brackets. And so then I have to learn how to do number 3, which is get your money back. You see, if you go to the grocery store and you buy $200 worth of groceries, and you come home and eat all your groceries, and the grocery store manager calls you in 2 weeks and says, come back and get your money, but keep your food, we stop, drop, and roll right now. Right. Well, that's what the IRS says. The IRS says if you have a business, you get your money back. When you use your cell phone for business, you get your bill money back in the cell phone too. When you drive your car for business, you get that money back. When you travel for business, you get that money back. The IRS says that hundreds and hundreds of times. So now, every time I spend a penny, anybody who knows me, the first question I ask is, can I get it back? So I have 3 children. You spend money on school clothes, school supplies, ballet, extracurricular activities. You don't get that money back. But the IRS says in publication 15, page 13, that you can hire your children to work in your home-based business. You can pay each child up to $12,400 a year, and that's tax-free income to them. And you get that money back as a tax write-off on your tax return. $12,400 times 3 kids is $37,200 that I cannot afford not to get back, no matter how much money I make. Right. Now, that's just one tax write-off. There are many tax write-offs. There's the home office. If you carve out a space in your home, I tell people I wouldn't care if I lived in a studio and all it had was a window. Let me tell you, it would be my home office. I would carve out a space for my office that is exclusively used for business, because when you do that, you get to write off a percentage of your rent or your mortgage. You get to write off a percentage of your light bill, your gas bill, your cable, your internet, your emergency, anything that it takes to run that house that business also uses. You now get to write off a percentage of that. That's too much money to leave on the table. Right. So if I would have just be able to stay, because there's so much to do with money, and this is a short interview, I'd love to come back for more, but that's what I would put in a nutshell to say: spend less money, get more money, and then get your money back. And in my latest book, or one of my latest books this year, Get Your Money Back, Tax Deductions You Never Knew About, I go through an index of hundreds of tax deductions. And in my book, The Symphony, A Guide to Creating and Balancing Multiple Streams of Income, I go through step by step how to use your gifts to build multiple streams of income so we can get more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Those are awesome nuggets, things we can all use, and those are universal. Are those the same techniques that you use for Russell Simmons, Steve Harvey, and MC Lyte?
Everybody. Yeah, money is the same. Money is green, and it counts the same for everyone. And the first year that I was running the Hip Hop Summit Action Network for Russell Simmons, I saved hundreds of thousands of dollars on our travel. So I actually practice what I preach. I'm that person. We all go out to dinner. You're not going to order a side dish of green beans and you order them. No, we're going to get one order. You're going to split them. That's how we're going to do that. So people, I actually do get on people's nerves, but they're very happy with me during tax season. And they're very happy with me when they look at their bank accounts at the end of our time together.
Right, absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about your and MC Lyte's wealth organization?
Well, Hip Hop Sisters Foundation was founded in 2012, and since then we have presented well over $1 million in scholarships to young people of color to achieve their college degrees. We have we have 9 scholars now who have graduated on full scholarships with our organization. And we have an annual event called the Wealth Experience. This is the first year. We did not have it since 2015. And wealth stands for wisdom, expansion, assets, leadership, transformation, and health. And it is literally a life-changing experience. And we're looking forward to getting back there again to the Wealth Experience. Very, very excited about what the future holds.
Okay, that's awesome. And we all need that. I don't know if you have a target audience, the younger girls coming up and going to college, but we all need that. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about your Debtors Court TV show, what that's about, how that came to pass, and where that stands?
Well, Debtors Court is alive and well at debtorscourt.tv. And several years ago, one of my colleagues said you should be a judge, and I thought she had lost her whole mind because there was no way I was going to law school to do that. In another lifetime, I'd probably be a judge. And then one day, it just hit me. I was sitting by the water at Martha's Vineyard, and I saw the full vision, how I could help to heal relationships and families by bringing them together to solve their money disputes, but more importantly, to teach them sound financial principles, give them a plan of action, teach them how to heal themselves and each other and work together, but more importantly, also give the viewers a blueprint for how to behave in those situations. So Debtors Court is wonderful, and I really, really enjoy the litigants, and I am just as irritated as I look, but I'm also just as happy as at the end, usually a smile comes over my face when I start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But, one of my clients calls me the minister, preacher, gangster, teacher. And gangster usually shows up first.
Okay.
And minister and teacher are what rounds me out. So Debtors Court is entertaining, lots of fun, but also educational as well.
Right. I appreciate that. You've dropped a lot of gems on us today, and I just don't even know what the follow-up is. But is there anything else you want us to know that maybe we didn't get to talk about?
No, just, follow me. Go to asklynn.org. Any questions that you may have or your listeners may have, follow me on social media at Lynn Richardson, and let's leave broke behind. We have all made it through 2020. So if you can survive 2020, you can do anything. So it's time for us to thrive and all get to the next level, supporting each other together.
Yes, and can you tell us where we can find your books?
AskLynn.org. If you go there, you'll get everything you need. You'll submit an inquiry, wait for your immediate reply, and then also wait for a member of my team to share any next steps. All of my books and classes are also there, but AskLynn.org.
Okay. Wow, beautiful. Beyond 2020, life and business lessons on thriving amidst the pandemic. So it's out now. It's available for the public, and we can shop and get it. Well,
yes. It's out. Living Beyond Check to Monday, Living Check to Monday. Get your money back, your man and your money. Yes, you approved the estate planning. Like,
what do you say, Dr. Richardson, about your man and your money? I was about to wrap it up.
How to get them and how to keep them.
Okay.
Yeah, how to get them and how to keep them.
Now, how do you keep your man and your money?
Separate.
Separately?
Stay wise. Don't fall into dumb.
Right.
You know, we say we fall in love, but you done fell into dumb. That ain't love right there. And it's okay. We've all fallen into dumb.
Right.
But let's be clear. Do not call it love. Okay? When you fall into love, you won't feel dumb.
Right.
So, yeah.
I've got it. Well, you have been a true treasure. I appreciate you. You will be receiving, I don't know if you can, how well you can see, but this is a chocolate hat for Big Texas Bossin, and you will be receiving this this week in the mail, hopefully. So thank you for being a guest.
Thank you so much.
And we appreciate you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'll come back anytime. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Trey.
I look forward to having you
everyone.
back. All right. Bye-bye. Woo, y'all. Today I've got a heavy hitter with us, the one and only Nicci Gilbert. Thank you, Nicci Gilbert, for joining us today. Nicci Gilbert is the lead vocalist of an American R&B group, Brownstone, who rose to fame in the mid-1990s, best known for their 1995 hit single, If You Love Me, which was nominated for a Best R&B Performance Grammy. She's a TV producer, director, and the creator of reality series R&B Divas, and From the Bottoms Up. She's currently writing her memoir, Diary of a Diva, and directing her first feature-length film. She's the creator and host of She Speaks Live. Nicci Gilbert, we are elated to have you on Big Texas Bossin. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you've had quite an illustrious career, and
thank you.
I don't know where you'd like to start, but we'd like to talk about when it comes to having a guest of your esteemed talent and background, we have to take our audience back just a little bit. Tell us about being and founding the first act signed to the Michael Jackson's recording label.
Oh, wow. A blessing. God, the universe aligning. I was, always into music and theater as a child growing up. So it's funny, I was just talking about this earlier today. One of my best friends in the world, Dwayne Barnes, we had been in Corliers and choir together, and he saw a movie called Dead Poet Society, right? And it just basically talks about seizing the day, doing it while you're young, and just going for it, pursuing your goals and your dreams. And so we decided that we were going to take our Pell Grant money and move to LA. And, we had some amazing friends, some of which you may be familiar with, who hung out with us and helped us sort of beat the pavement. I put an ad in a paper called The Drama Log. I said, I've been auditioning for a lot of different groups. In fact, Tammy Roman was in a group I auditioned for, and they were like a bunch of models, supermodel types, and I just didn't fit the mold. And Tammy was like, I love you, and I wanted you in my group so bad, but they had this whole thing they wanted. So she kept it really real with me, and a lot of other people that I auditioned for kept it really real with me as well, and I just didn't fit the aesthetic. So I decided that I wanted to push farther and show that I could still be successful as an overweight, young, average woman with a really, strong voice. And I put an ad in the paper. And from that ad, I met Maxie, who is my sister forever, best friend in the world, Mimi. And Maxie, the way we got discovered is Maxie and I were walking down Melrose one day, and this guy was like, oh my God, you're beautiful. You look like a supermodel. Will you be in my video? And I'm like, Maxie, we should do it. I'll act like the manager. I'll make the contact. You just look pretty and I handle the rest.
Right.
So long story short, we ended up getting stranded in the desert. And as a result of being stranded in the desert, and the guy, we didn't get stranded in the desert. Maxie actually was snug as a bug in a rug at home, but one of the tires blew out and they needed to keep the light. So I said, Maxie, you go ahead in the real car. I'll stay behind with this guy. And he left me. stranded in the desert. A couple days later, to make up for being left in the desert, his friend referred me to Emerald Forest and Barry Kolsky, who took a courtesy meeting because we got stranded in the desert. That courtesy meeting ended with Barry saying, "Oh, it's cool. That's what I was looking for." And then Marla and Linda, as we were walking out the door, were like, "What was that we heard up there?" I'm like, "Oh, that's us singing." So we sang for them. They're like, "Did you write it?" I was like, "Of course I did." And the rest was history. She introduced us to Jerry, Michael found us, and here we are.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's an incredible story. They go from being left in the desert
I would say
to having a
opportunity
contract.
and preparation. Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep, it was God. It was just, and I remember when I was walking down this road, it was literally like no one there, and crying and praying. I was like, "God, if you get us through this, I promise." And police station called Mimi, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah, perseverance.
Right, absolutely. So what was the concept behind the name Brownstone and its classic soulful sound?
Because we had been, I had been, denied the opportunity to really showcase my talent because of what I looked like. I really wanted to focus on a story that was about something that was classic, well built, well prepared. But when you get into what it really is, outside of the exterior, when you listen to the voices, when you listen to the sound, you know that it's something that's going to be around forever. And when you think about brownstones in New York, on the outside, they look real basic. You got these stairs, they're all red bricks, but you go inside and people got them decked out all different kinds of ways. So it represented so much more on the inside. And that's what we wanted this group to be about, what was at the core of who we were versus on the surface.
Right, and that's wonderful. And I love the idea that you're sharing and communicating that the aesthetics for you were, caused issues and were a transition piece. What would you say in today's American society that the core of the aesthetic issues was? Was it being a dark-skinned female? Was it your legs weren't long enough? Was it your personality was too strong? What was it? Because we run into so many obstacles in so many different ways, and we do have to create our own opportunities and our own avenues, which you've done well. But what was the core of what you feel like the issue was for you in the industry?
I just think that people are conditioned to sort of continue to recycle something that is a gimmick or something that just works, right? As opposed to really thinking, again, going deeper than the surface, right? I think at the time, you had a lot of artists who had this typical rock star or superstar look. So there was this look connected to it. And I think today, what I see is that people are a lot more free to be who they are. There's still this whole aesthetic that the industry looks for, but then you have people like Lizzo, and you have people like Jill Scott, and you have people like Ladisi, and you have, you know what I'm saying? Like all these amazing, big, beautiful, voluptuous brown women who are unapologetic about who they are, and it's about their gifts and their talent and not their, exterior. I do think the industry has sort of minimized our talent and accentuated the gimmick or the spectacle. And I think that is unfortunate because a lot of really talented artists don't get the marketing and the promotions. You get the opportunity to be yourself. You get the opportunity to present yourself. You get the opportunity for a few people to see how incredibly talented you are. But if you're not twerking and popping and thotting, you're just not going to get as much of a push and as much marketing. And I think that is a mistake. I think that is where you lose the longevity. Okay. And you go for that quick, easy money. And everybody knows it's like, come on, like building a cheap condo versus putting your effort into really building a house that's going to, weather the storm.
Right. Okay. Well, while you're airing the dirty laundry, Kelly Rowland's song, is there anybody you want to spill the tea on or tell us about an experience that either could have been avoided or that was totally unnecessary and you really felt the pressure of being you?
I mean, I think the more popular, idea or whatever is that, I'm this, super B. And it's because I just don't stand for BS too often. I think, R&B Divas was probably the biggest learning experience of my life. And most of the men connected to that show, Black men and white men connected to that show. Those are people that I felt didn't respect me as a Black woman in this industry. I felt like they, it's not so much the tea, because I think everybody knows about it, but I think that they perpetuated the stereotype that we were supposed to just shut up and sing, and that we couldn't evolve into business women. I created that show, put it together from top to bottom, nuts, bolts, spent our own money, literally putting together the sizzle reel. It evolved from a show I had done years ago called Soul Kitten's Cabaret. And I felt robbed. I felt disrespected. I felt completely disregarded to have created a franchise that was the most successful franchise in the history of the network. Now it's more popular. Now you have Issa Rae, Ava DuVernay, all these amazing, really talented women who are getting their due. But I came along at a time when it wasn't really a lot of us doing it. And unfortunately, I had to be sort of the example of what wasn't going to happen if certain men had something to do with it.
And were these producers that you were talking about, or that you're referring to, are they producers or are they?
Yeah, so the way it went was, in short, I had never produced any television before. So I created the show, I cast the show, I brought the women together, I created the sizzle reel that sold the show. But I didn't know that I needed to own it. I just, was new. So for me, it was, I'm the executive producer, I'm attached to it. But if you don't own something, you have absolutely zero control of it. So these were people, producers that Faith's manager at the time, who I trusted then, don't now. It is what it is. Right. He basically brought some guys on board, a company on board, and they basically took the show for me. So they became executive producers with more power, more respect and influence with the women, even the women that I brought on board. And it was just, like I said, the greatest learning experience of my life. I don't regret it, because I wouldn't be in the mind frame that I'm in today if that had not happened. So I don't regret it. I do wish that I had more opportunity to grow this franchise. And it was feeding a lot of people, helping a lot of families. It was showcasing talent that had been long forgotten. And I just think it was one of the biggest issues one of the biggest mistakes as a whole that the industry has made.
Okay.
Or not the industry, I'm sorry. But, just from a network perspective, because R&B Divas should still be on.
Right. Absolutely. Now, who was your favorite R&B diva?
Oh, my God. I don't even want to answer that, because I loved all of them for different reasons. But I just have to say Faith, because without her, it wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
And she and I are very close friends to this day.
Okay. That's
Faith
awesome.
Renee Evans.
That you all are still able to maintain your friendship and relationship. That's
absolutely.
Good. Now, is there a comeback? Do we need to be looking for a comeback or revenge or what?
Sorry, my husband is opening up stuff and whatnot. I'm like, I'm in a real interview right now. Please forgive me for that. Comeback. Yes, I think there is a possibility of a comeback. I'm working on something now that I'm really excited about, and I will say that if it were to come back, it would need to come back with the understanding that we would have to have ownership, equity, in the brand.
Right.
And without that, it doesn't work.
Absolutely. So, as you're aware, this is a wild card segment. My producer is making me ask you this next question.
Yes.
So, I'm a little nervous when I get those type of notes.
No, don't be nervous.
Okay, tell me about your experience in a group called Shades of Ebony.
You should be embarrassed asking that question.
That was the Travion
group
question.
Shades of Ebony, one of my oldest and dearest friends ever, whose mom made my prom dress. We were a member of a very elite group. Okay, that's what we thought. A drama club called La Trope des Arts. Oh my gosh, she's brilliant. She's amazing. And I'm so glad she's not singing anymore. But we did have this thing where she was a part of the group, Shades of Ebony. She was a singer in a group before she became this author and publicist and business owner and entrepreneur and all around wonderful woman. Me, Trey, and Tita. Oh my God, we're in a group called Shades of Ebony, and I think we might have lasted all of 45 minutes.
Trey, wait.
After that, you know the song, Ebony.
Wow.
And that's actually the group that should have gone multi-platinum. I think they would have let me live.
Right. Sounds like fun. How did those experiences help you develop a thick skin?
You know what? It really, the friendship, since we opened that up, I was trying to remain professional, so I didn't have to call your executive producer out.
Right.
But having people from home that know you, that love you, where you support each other, where you push each other to succeed. And, we were kids. Oh my God. We were like kids. Okay. And we looked out for each other, and we lifted each other, and we protected each other, and we inspired each other. And we are the reason that we have the success. It was just collaboration and working together, and really not forgetting where you come from, and surrounding yourself with people who are genuinely hoping for the best for you is everything when it comes to success. Not forgetting where you come from, and not feeling like you have to carry a bunch of baggage that is weighing you down, but absolutely developing and cultivating those relationships that sow into you and reciprocating that,
Absolutely. And I noticed Detroit natives stick together. You all stick together. Wow.
Detroit versus everybody is not just a t-shirt, it's a way of life.
Right. Motor City girls stick together. So I love seeing that. Yes, I love seeing that. Now, we watch your socials, and of course, She Speaks Live. Your dedication to speaking out against injustice, giving voices to women of all walks of life, self-love is palpable and much respected. How have you managed to maintain a healthy balance, juggle this crazy business, and keep your marriage healthy and strong? Who your husband just was trying to get your attention. So
I know. I'm like, dude, I'm in an interview. Hello. Like, just married. First of all, let me talk about the marriage part of it. My husband is my best friend. You hear people say that all the time. He really is my best friend, my lover, my everything, my soulmate. He is so not about this life. My husband is a 6'8" Marine. I say he's mean all the time to everybody but me. But I'm not mad at that now. He is very polar opposite. He is a man of very few words. Actions definitely speak louder than words. I wrote a song about it, and I got what I wrote. He says it, he does it, he shows it, and he proves it. And it has nothing to do with this business, which is beautiful, because so often, you see artists with their men, and they're like, let me be your man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the Twister song. And it doesn't always work out. But my husband and I have managed to have a really solid balance of business and a marriage, and a very regular, normal, everyday, low-key marriage. He is a complete introvert, and I'm an ambivert, which means that I can kick it with you for a minute, but then I got to go. I'm also a Cancer. So, you know what I mean? We got to crawl into that shell and be alone sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
As a fellow Cancer, I understand. So
you're a Cancer too? When is your birthday?
June 26th. When is yours?
Come on, June 26th, July 8th.
Okay, yes, most
I'll be
definitely.
51. I'm excited. Happy early birthday.
Thank you.
So you know how we get down. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I've just learned over the years, I've always been somebody who kept my family very close to me. My close friends very close to me. I've never been. I'm in this industry, but this is what I do for a living. So not unlike anybody else who goes to work. Goes to work and then comes home and they're regular. I'm very that person. When I'm on stage, I try to give y'all all the diva. When I'm off stage, I'm cooking, cleaning, serving, changing grandson's diapers, at Walmart, which is like my favorite place. I don't bring work home. So that's the short answer. Work is work.
Work is work and home is home. We've got it.
Yeah.
So I hear you're finally sitting down and penning a book about your life. What can you share with us about Diary of a Diva?
It is raw and authentic, and every time I feel like, okay, this is it, something else comes up that I think is a teachable moment for not just myself, but for anybody who reads it. I think that, having been blessed with the opportunity to work in this industry for as long as I have, and, I'm being honest about it. Like so many people, I come up in an era where, people wanted artists to be sort of on this pedestal. And I think Whitney Houston is a great example of that. Like she's Whitney from Newark, New Jersey. Faith is an example of that too. Like people think because you're the superstar that you got to be pulled up and always on and the money's always good all the time. And, first class. And no, we're regular everyday people and have the same issues that, the regular everyday person has, but they're magnified because people know who we are. Somebody else can be struggling with their finances or struggling with their marriage or struggling with their weight and mental health. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll give you some time off at work. Why? Because you got a 401k and some insurance. Whereas if someone in the entertainment industry where there are no 401ks, where there is very few people in this business have insurance, I'm one of the people lucky enough that I did qualify for insurance based on some record sales stuff, whatever, but went a long time and didn't have it. So I'm being honest about, the ebb and the flow, the darkest moment of my life when Maxine died, and what I didn't think I'd ever be able to come back from, the lessons I've learned signing a record contract at 23 years old and still being indebted to these people for over $1 million almost 30 years later. Mm. You know what I'm saying? And not, back in the day, our budget's like $250,000, $300,000 album budgets, but not knowing that they could just say this is what you owe and that's just what it is, and it's just too expensive to litigate it, so you just accept it and move on. And so it's just my innermost thoughts and what I would like for people to understand about not just me, but what my experiences in this industry have been, what my peers' experiences in this industry have been, and hopefully it will empower other young artists to understand that this business is smoke and mirrors. Most of the people you'll meet are full of sugar, honey, iced tea. And I am hoping that transparency helps build more legacies and allows more people who work for companies for 30 years to actually have something left to give to their children and their children's children. I'm a grandma now. Right. And I want my grandson to benefit from the fruits of my effort at 23 years old. And unfortunately, the way this industry is set up, he never will. And that's not right. And if this book helps shine some light on it and move someone away from signing everything away and retaining some ownership, that is the purpose. That's what I want people to get from it.
Wow, that's awesome. And I have no doubt that you will execute that in your story and everyone will know the formula. But that's not all that you're doing.
It's my formula and to just flip it. And I think that's the biggest thing. There is no formula except coming from the right place and knowing that when you're coming from the right place, you can't go wrong. And the key to everything is ownership in real estate, in business. It's the same as corporate America. Ownership.
Right. You're exactly right.
The key to wealth.
You're truly a big boss because you understand the concept and you're executing on the concept to secure your future and your grandchild's future. So I think that's wonderful. Right, but you got it. It wasn't too late. You might have, but it wasn't too late for sure. So let's talk about one other thing that you're doing and how you're feeling about that. Since we're being candid, let's talk about your first feature-length movie that you're working on and how you're going to set a different tone based on what you've seen.
Absolutely. ooh, I'm so proud of this movie. I'm so proud of this movie. So I started working on this script before R&B Divas because while we were pitching it, everybody was saying no. They're like, just no. We need something salacious. We need some table flipping, some drinks throwing. We need, some marriages breaking up. We need all that. And in the beginning of R&B Divas, that's just not what we were doing. That's not who we were. It wasn't what we wanted to be. So nobody picked us up. I started writing this script called Driven to It about this group of women that were coming together to do something really amazing that was going to empower the community, and being met with like this brick wall of resistance. And how it started off really, really powerful and ended with somebody losing their life. And there's so many lessons and nuggets in this. It is a group of girlfriends who are smart, ambitious, wealthy, successful women. The cast, I got a dream cast in mind. We haven't started the casting process because we're in pre-production. This is an independent feature. When I say independent, this means bootstraps. Hey, can you hold this mic? Can you do that? But the best stuff comes from that. I saw where Zendaya offered equity to her cast in this film project that she did, and they got picked up for like a ridiculous amount of money from Netflix, and everybody won. So that's what this is about for me. It's about us all, going back to the concept of collaboration and working together as a group to get something done. I'm so proud of this script. It's so nuanced. The characters are so developed. We have not seen Black women shown in this lens before.
Oh, wow.
I appreciate the brothers that are out there telling our stories. I appreciate, the LGBT community, that people that are out there telling our stories. But, everybody has a way of storytelling, and people haven't quite seen mine. And it's gritty, and it's raw, and it's honest, and it's sexy, and it's grown as AF. And it's provocative and stimulating, and it's going to educate people, right? It's not going to be over your head like, this is a lesson, this is preachy, this is what you need to learn. You're going to walk away from this movie like, wow. Because every table read ends like, wow. And now that we're able to really start doing it, I'm excited. So bootstrapping it. And we're in pre-production now, and hopefully we'll be able to start filming before the end of the summer. And you guys will be able to see this streaming on our platform and other platforms in the fall and winter.
That is awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Can you tell the audience where they can find you, keep up with the bodies of works that you're working on?
Yes.
And keeping it real.
Absolutely. You can find me, Nikki, Nicci, Nicci Gilbert, on all platforms. Please go to WIRF, WIRF TV. That's Women in Reality Film, Television, and Music. Register at WIRFTV.com. We've got some really cool stuff happening over there. We hope to launch the streaming service in the fall. We are a startup, so I'm out here actually having meetings about it now.
Right.
And just WIRF TV. And From the Bottom Up Foundation. Oh, super important. I plug this. From the Bottom Up Foundation. From the Bottom Up is the title of our first Brownstone album. It is the foundation that actually launched the initiative with me. And it's just about enriching our lives and addressing these systemic issues in poverty, economic disparity, gender bias, pay gap disparities and everything. We feel like we deserve a level playing field. So that's what the whole goal of From the Bottom Up and WIRF TV is.
All right. Well, I definitely look forward to seeing you.
Mental health. I'm sorry. Let me add that. Mental health. Mental health awareness. WIRFTV.com. We got something going on right now about mental health awareness. That's it.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely look all of that up and look for you. We do have a parting gift for you. You'll be receiving this in the mail. It's a Texas hat, all chocolate, and you will be getting
chocolate?
this. Yes, it's chocolate. So I hope you like chocolate.
I love it. I love chocolate. Oh, y'all ain't see my husband? I love chocolate.
Wait a minute. All right. Well, thank you. It's been an honor and privilege to have you.
Me.
And we will talk to you soon. All right. Thank you.
Talk to you soon. God bless y'all. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. That does it for this episode of Big Texas Bossin. We bossed up with a true boss, Nicci Gilbert Daniels, and I just can't say enough. Her interview was amazing. She's got some amazing things going on, and I encourage all of you to follow her, the one and only Nicci Gilbert Daniels. That concludes this episode of Big Texas Bossin. I hope you all got the tea and really enjoyed it. You can follow us on all of our social medias at Big Texas Bossin, BOSSIN, and follow us on our website, www.bigtexasbossin.com. Y'all come back now.